Hi, I'm Bill Doherty, and I want to welcome the viewers to another edition of Bill's Bullpen. Bill's Bullpen is a program that's intended to give folks some idea of what's going on in the region and in our town. And with me today I have Elizabeth Griffin. Elizabeth Griffin, who are you?
Who am I? Well, we can start with a resident of Bourne for 50 plus years, graduate of Bourne High. But before that, when I got out of high school and wanted to be a probation officer, my father took me a different direction, and I owned Elizabeth's on Main Street in Buzzards Bay for 14 years. But then I went back to follow my dream of working with at-risk kids. So I got my master's from Leslie and started a whole new career. And I work at Upper Cape Tech for the past 27 years, partially retired, but I also have a private practice in Falmouth for the past 19 years.
Leslie's quite a school. My daughter went to Leslie to get her bachelor's, and then she went to BC to get her, her MSW. So I look at you, and you're young enough to be my daughter as well, but that's a story for another time. Now you're involved with an operation here in Bourne,
yes.
And it's called the
Bourne Substance Free Coalition.
Substance Free Coalition. Is that just a bunch of do-gooders to sit around a table and say how concerned they are about stuff?
I think they're a bunch of people that first saw a problem in our community. That goes back to like 2010, okay, where there was a police officer and a Barnstable sheriff and myself, all people from 3 different worlds and 3 different areas of addressing the substance use problem. And we all agreed, though, that we needed to do something because we were losing kids, families. It was like this major rippling effect. So we first started with community presentations to educate the public about what was going on and how we could best help them. So we then did our Narcan training way back.
What kind of training?
Narcan.
Oh, Narcan, okay. Yeah.
Way back, and I believe it was 2012.
Wow, that was way back.
Way back,
yeah.
And in our town, we had over 100 people at Upper Cape Tech attending that Narcan training, which to me, and it speaks volumes to people wanting assistance, people needing help, people coming into Upper Cape Tech, wanting to get Narcan trained. So then with that, we realized the importance of prevention as well, to get ahead of it rather than, taking a proactive versus a reactive approach in our town. So we invited, Donna Beers was instrumental in working with Upper Cape Tech and Bourne High School, and we brought Chris Herron in. And so Chris Herron spoke to Upper Cape Tech students. Then he went over to Bourne High and spoke to the Bourne High students, and then we did a community presentation that night. That was a very profound, highly impactful of his story, of his sharing, of his own struggle with substance use and how that impacted his life.
That's the basketball player, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And we're actually bringing him back November 26th. He will be at Upper Cape Tech. The Bourne Substance Free Coalition, with the help of David Sampson, we developed a 501(c). So we are hoping we wrote a grant and hope to get it, and we'll have him there at Upper Cape Tech, and then he will go to Bourne High School on an I grant. Yeah. So again, teaching kids.
I'm so happy that that Dave Sampson is still involved with it, because as he was the superintendent, and I think he still serves the town as the representative to the to that. But the fact that you have worked at Upper Cape Tech, these kids,
yes,
and basically you sort of understand what I'd call native cynicism of adolescence. Okay, so when we talk naively about all we have to do is just tell them what's going on, no,
that is
work.
not how we do that. Well, in my opinion.
Okay, well, now recently, as I left the Board of Health, I was made aware of a grant that had come down, and I wonder if you could tell folks a little bit about what that grant was about and how to access the support that it offers.
Are you talking about? Help me with that question.
This is the one that came down from the state, I believe.
The opioid settlement fund?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Okay. So, based on this huge problem that we had, there were opiate settlement funds given back to the towns because of what these drugs did to individuals. It was a settlement, and their ownership of, we need to make this right. So right now, currently, there's like $167,000 in the town of Bourne to first address this problem. So Caitlin Shea for the health department is, I think, the psych program director. I think that's the correct title.
Yes, she is. She's now the health agent.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So and I'm happy to see that, because Caitlin had always impressed me as being somebody who was on top of her game.
She
you know,
is.
Not for nothing. She does have 2 bachelor's degrees. Okay. And the town is lucky to have her.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think she's dedicated. I think she's committed. I think her goal is to, and I don't want to speak for her, but what she radiates is working together with the Bourne Substance Free. She's a member of the Bourne Substance Free Coalition, and to make sure that this money gets properly allocated to help best address the individuals in our town.
And by the way, that's exactly what she told me. So there you have it. Okay, and I'm glad that is making progress. But how exactly would folks access this type of support in order to help either themselves or the people that that they're concerned with?
Sure. I think the first thing is she put together a committee. Joe Carrera sits on it from the fire department. He's now the assistant fire chief. Caitlin's on it.
That's Joe Carrera?
Carrera.
Correct. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I've known Joe a long time.
And who was instrumental in the Bourne Substance Free Coalition, and is an active member, and has done a lot of wonderful things for the Bourne Substance Free Coalition. Kristen Donahue is on the committee, and she is the director of special ed and student services in the town of Bourne. Stevie Fitch is on it, who is on the Bourne Conservation Department, but also a member of the Bourne Substance Free Coalition, and myself from the perspective of a licensed mental health counselor, as well as working at Upper Cape TAC.
Yeah.
So it was a nice group, and what was for the request for proposals for the needs assessment. So when you look at how to best use this money, we might want to take a look at our town.
Okay, so it sounds like you're describing gap analysis. Okay, what has gone on up till now, what has been on the wish list, and what kind of a goal had you set for yourself in this?
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to, whoever gets this proposal is going to look at our town and look at our barriers for people who struggle, to look at the strengths that we may have, but how to best serve our town based on the results that they find in this needs assessment of what we need.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a couple of other issues that are involved. Jim Cummings was fond of reminding me that about 80% of the folks who were incarcerated were in drug-related, non-violent, crime, and there's also the issue of dual diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Which is a great concern of mine, because folks who are mentally ill are sometimes self-medicating.
Absolutely.
And I wonder how do you integrate all of those issues into a program?
Okay. Again, I think what is important is prevention, and this money is allocated to prevention as well. So.
What? Prevention?
Yes.
We never hear about that.
I know that.
It's
And
always
this-
about outcomes.
Right, and this is what is so beneficial, I think, to our community, because when you look at it, kids struggle with getting anxious. They struggle with developing good self-esteem, being accepted by their peers. How do they manage sad moods? How do they manage their anger? So if we can get in there and develop programs to help these kids learn at a very young age that these are emotions, these are the strategies that we need for you to develop so that you don't self-medicate to deal with them. And I think that that's a huge thing, and I think the earlier the better. And I don't think it's a one-shot deal. I think we should carry it through our school systems and offer programs for these kids. And I'm just excited about that.
And we should be. But in dealing with adolescents, to me, there's always that hormonal issue. I mean, those of us who have raised kids and have observed at a distance their grandkids, and now I'm seeing my great grandkids, come along. I recall my dealing with my daughter's adolescence is all I wanted to see between the time they were 14 and 24 was their backs receding in the distance. Okay, but I stuck it out.
Right.
Okay, and now when they've tried to turn into my mother, that's all part of, let's say, the reward that you get for that. And I'd like to encourage folks to remember that as they're going through there. But with that struggle, that the kids have in let's say, hormonal issues that are attributing to what I'd call lower self-esteem, how do you help kids with that, and also as a prevention mechanism so that they don't go to the self-medicating to make themselves feel better and lose their anxiety?
Okay, I really feel very fortunate because I love the adolescents. I love that age bracket because, like I say to them, they're like putty.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? They're trying and developmentally appropriate what type of person they're going to become. And so what I have them sometimes do is reflect in what you see in an adult that you like and what you don't like. And you have that ability to control that.
Yes, they do.
And they do. And so as they develop their identity, take the strengths from the adults that they see, implement that. And the pieces that you necessarily don't like, don't become that. And when working with parents and families, because that's what I do, I also try to work with parents and say, remember when. You know what I mean? It's normal for kids from 12 to 15, 12 to 16 to break away from their parents.
And that that expression of independence at that particular age, brings up the issue of how does a parent, and believe me, it was tough for me. How does a parent stand back without wanting to embrace and make everything perfect?
I don't think you can make it perfect, but I think.
And this is the advice I think that parents need to hear about how do you prevent substance abuse, and what I would call in the mind of an adolescent that justifies having something that sort of smooths things over for them.
Well, I think communication. I think understanding that these kids are now questioning no. And to be able to sit down and go, well, this is why we feel this way, that's not a good choice for you. One of the things with working with kids, I've always said is like, you're here, okay? And you have a choice. You're going to go down this road or you're going to go down this road, okay? This road is a positive road. You can make good, positive choices. You're going to experience happiness as far as whether it's making those good decisions and how that's going to benefit you by doing your academics, by participating in sports, by doing activities that you might enjoy. Then there's the other road that necessarily you're not making good choices. You're not maybe doing what is in your best interest. But as I tell kids, when you make that decision, remember the peers you hang around with. Look at a friend, because a true friend is going to bring you up to success, not down. And to be aware of that. So
And to me, that is probably the most difficult thing to do, because there's a reinforcement that comes from people that are in your circle that basically tell you anything you're doing is okay. So it's tough to, let's say, to get that point. Now, we've been talking about kids, and it's important because that's how these things get started. But what happens now in your coalition with the folks that are already there, that are adults, that have, what I'd call a long-term involvement with substance?
Again, you want to support them. You know what I mean? I think as time has gone on, we, and not all, of course, there was a stigma attached.
The stigma. We had that on last week about how important it is to understand that judgmental behavior with regard to involvement is not helpful. That has to be a what I'd call a point of decision, that if a person is making the effort to change their behavior, we shouldn't keep reminding them about where they were. We want to support them in where they are and where they need to go. Now, how do you do that?
Well, I'm going to take it back for a step. Remember when I was saying about adolescents bringing themselves up to success? If a person is struggling, we want to help them get on that road, that same road, and we need to support them. You know, do they need a ride to a meeting? Do they need a ride to a clinic? Whatever they can do, because to judge or to not make, as we go back to self-esteem, feel good about themselves. And I think what else has helped is so many people now have been impacted by friends or families with substance use issues. You know, it's reduced that, because it could be one of your children, a friend of yours that you know that struggles, and it puts us in a different place because we want to help them, because they're people we care about. And I think that has helped with that stigma of, you're a drug addict, or, and it's like people who are struggling with substance use.
Years ago, I worked for a company that had in that case, it was more alcohol related than prescription or substance abuse, but nevertheless abuse. And the attitude of the person that was running it was, I was able to get over it. They have to get off their ass and recognize who they are and bring themselves up. And I felt that was an interesting attitude, because where this guy was basically bragging about how he was able to do all of this on his own, he was forgetting the fact that he had a whole support group called his family that were basically helping him get through this. So how do we remind people to recognize what is available to them in their families? And sadly, when I was substitute teaching, there was several examples of that kids were getting their drugs from their parents. Okay, so in a situation like that, how do you sort that out? And this is a question that that I wonder about as we look at a coalition that's that's attempting to deal with it. When there's a generational involvement, okay, how do we fight that?
I think well, another piece to that is it's now legal for parents, anybody over 21. So that's another whole issue that we've got to take. But we got to understand that these kids' brains are still developing. So we want them to develop to be the strongest that they can be, right? And I think accountability, I mean, if people want to do that, they're right, they can. But it's not legal for children. So, as a parent, I think it's a fine line because it is illegal for your child to engage in smoking marijuana or cannabis or weed,
Well,
whatever.
I have a personal prejudice that believes that marijuana is a gateway drug. What do I know? I know that there are folks that have benefited from it because of pain and issues like that. And I think that absolutely deserves support. However, there is that concern, that I have that we're diminishing our, let's say, our understanding of how dangerous any substance is. Okay, but I think we might be getting away from the part of, okay, you've got this coalition set up. What's the practical, the infrastructure? How does someone get a hold of you, and in order to get the help that they need for, their, the people that they're concerned with, children and adults?
They can go to our website.
The website.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
and what is the website?
Bourne Substance Free Coalition.org.
Easy to remember.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And I think another piece that they can benefit is come to a meeting. You know what I mean?
We have meetings.
Yes, we
Okay.
have second Wednesday of the month, 11 o'clock, 1 week, all right, 1 month, excuse me, at Upper Cape Tac. And the following month, we do it at a night meeting because
Okay.
not everybody can get to a day meeting. So we try to meet in the middle. So right now it's 11 o'clock on the second Wednesday of the month. The following month, it's 6 p.m. at Upper Cape Tac.
Okay, so an Upper Cape Tac has lots of parking.
Yes,
So-
it does.
So there's no, there's no issue about, getting up there. Just have to make that right turn and up the hill, and and there they are at the Tech.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to point out the support that our superintendent, Roger Forget, gives to the Bourne Substance Free Coalition to let us have our meetings there, because it works. I think it's important to understand that the people on the coalition are volunteers.
Okay, well, Friends of Bill, have a meeting and everybody introduces themselves. How do you run your meetings?
We have an agenda, but for newcomers or whatever, we quickly go around for people who are new to us, and everybody introduces themselves. And then we have a set agenda, and we go through that agenda of the plans that we're doing for that month. We do Hidden in Plain Sight, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
What's that?
Hidden in Plain Sight.
Oh, okay.
And this is again when we'll take it back when you were talking about parents and how it can be helpful. Hidden in Plain Sight is we set it up in it's a mock bedroom.
Okay.
And you have to be 18 years old to go into this. And what it is the bedroom is set up and it has paraphernalia all around the room. And your job is, as a parent, to go through to learn different ways to identify high risk-taking behaviors. Okay. One of the things that I always stress when I talk about Hidden in Plain Sight is this is not an opportunity for people once they go in through that you go into your son or daughter's home, bedroom and ransack it. it's if you find any of these devices or stashes that kids can have, sit down and have a discussion. How can we help you? What do you need from us? You know, how can we work together to help you make better choices for yourself? And I think that that's so important, you know, because it's so important to teach kids accountability. So based on this decision, how is it going to impact you?
And this is something that folks who come to that meeting, and I think that's very useful, okay? A lot of us who have been exposed to what I would call let's say, that kind of inappropriate behavior. I remember coming home one day and noticing that there was a strange budding in all of the house plants, and so I said, I'm not stupid. I said, you know, who's growing the marijuana? And say, well, this kid came in the house and he threw seeds all over the place. So that, you know, that's the other part about, you know, getting over it. And I remember saying, just so you'll know, I won't be embarrassed by turning in your friends. And so if I see any of that type of behavior, you know, I'm certainly, I'm going to report it because I think I think it's wrong. But that, you know, that's tough to do, because one of the things that I've noticed in parental behavior is that forgetting that you're a parent, not a friend.
That's very important.
You are supposed to be act in a friendly way toward your child, but nevertheless, you are the parent. You are. It's your house and your responsibility to make sure that you give the appropriate instructions, you know, to kids. And I think that also is for adults that are, you know, basically, you know, trying to get a free ride to do something, you know, let's say to support their habit, and you know, and that's all, you know, that's all a part of, you know, what I personally am concerned about. Now, believe it or not, we're almost at the end of this. So what I'd like you to think about is, you know, what would you tell the viewers as to what kind of a takeaway that you would want them to have about, you know, about your organization and about how they could connect to it?
We're dedicated individuals. We have a great group of people. Please go on our website and see who are members. That if you have a struggle or if we can assist you, please come to a meeting. You're welcome to attend to see what we're doing. We'd love to grow our membership. We'd love to do more positive things in the town. I guess that's it.
Well, there's one other thing.
Yep, sure.
How do you support yourself?
We support ourselves. Grey Gables Market was very instrumental in that little change jar, and to collect monies for us. But St. Peter's on the Canal was very good to us. Just different organizations, different people reaching out and supporting our effort. But like I said earlier, we're now in the place where we can ask for funding so that we can do more things in the town, in the community. Okay, so
we've covered all the bases. The organization exists. It's working. You can access the meetings. It's easy to get to because everybody knows where the tech is. And let's hope that, you know, the people take advantage of that. And so with that, I want to thank you for coming, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Griffin, as part of the
Bourne Substance Free Coalition.
Okay, and I want to thank the viewers for, you know, for taking the time to pay attention to this, because this is something that is a pervasive problem within our culture, and you can do something about it. And I'm sure that if you wanted to check this, you know, let's say check out the organization for yourself without what I'd say having a particular problem that you're concerned about, you could come to one of their meetings and find out for yourself what's going on. So with that, I want to thank the viewers for watching another production of Bourne TV.